Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Michael Robert Live, The Brilliant Perspective. We are on a mission to share the secrets and the stories that often go untold to discover the insights that add brilliance to everyone's perspective. Tonight, we are joined by Ann.McCrory. She is a multi-million-dollar producer with the 100% Customer Satisfaction Award, who ranks consistently as a top agent in Rhode Island and is #1 in North Kingstown in both sales and volume. She co-owned with her husband Glenn Max Auto Body, Frenchtown Auto Sales, and the Great Escape Restaurant. During her tenure as the manager of the North Kingstown office of Randall Real Estate, she was recognized by media organizations like the Providence Business News, and most recently in 2020 as a leading lady by Providence Monthly. Stay tuned as we explore Ann's underdog journey through the valuable lessons she learned from her mistakes and victories. So, Ann, where does the story begin? Welcome, by the way.
Welcome. Should it begin when I got into real estate or when I first started in the auto body business, which was actually with my husband's business that when we married, we were in the auto body business together. Then after we actually sold our body shop in actually 1999, and my son at the time was a senior at Hendricken, and he was going into college. So selling a business and starting a new career when your oldest child is going to college is pretty scary. But I always wanted to do real estate, and it was finally my opportunity to do something that I wanted to do. So that's what happened. I went and take the real estate test, had my husband come with me, hoping that he would join me and we would be like a team. But he's a builder and he loves that part, and I love being a real estate agent. So that's where it started.
When you say always, childhood, when you were starting your career?
Probably when I was in college.
Ah,
I loved real estate. I loved designing. Actually, I wanted to be a fashion designer, but that was a little bit difficult for somebody my age, a female, to get into RISD, and that was pretty much the only school you could go to. So that always got put on the back burner, but houses and designs and things like that always intrigued me, always.
you just love houses.
I do. I said it never bores me at all.
And you just love people.
I do. I do.
Can you remember your first deal? I'm sure.
You know what? I think it was my mom and dad's house. Because when you're first starting out,
Right.
like you don't know anybody or know anybody, to start your business with. So I'm pretty sure it was my mom and dad's house. And I needed to get them out of the city at the time. I wanted them to move closer to myself. And so we put their house on the market. And I'm pretty sure that was the first one.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
What year was that?
Probably 2000. And I took my real estate class in 2000. So I got my real estate license in 2001. So it was like
Oh.
2001. Yeah, so it's about almost 23 years ago.
So you don't impress me as a type that gets too fearful about doing things.
Sometimes.
So how do you overcome that fear and just go do it? Because you're absolutely a doer. Personally, in your personal life and your professional life.
I think that I always read a lot of books. Books about having a positive attitude and things like that. And I think that always just resonated in my head all the time. And it's always fearful it's fearful to start something new.
Right.
It's fearful to do anything you haven't done before. And sometimes I will hold back, but most of the time you always have to think about what if I didn't, or what if I did? If I didn't, it was going to be something amazing. I would have missed out on it all.
Right.
And if it turns out not to be exactly what I anticipated, hopefully there's a lesson learned in it. And you have to have that attitude.
So it's just keeping that positivity
It really is.
no matter what.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Looking back, what percentage of the things you tried do you think actually worked out?
Probably 80%.
Oh, wow. That's a good number.
Yeah, so I said that's why you need to give it a shot. I mean, you know, some you just need to give a shot.
What
I
was your
do that
favorite?
with people with offers. Like if you never try, you're never gonna know.
Do you know how many times a realtor has said to me, I can't make that offer on that property, and I got the property?
Yeah. If you don't know, market times make a difference in some things. But
Absolutely.
if you don't try, you don't ever know. You never know the frame of mind that particular seller. If it's you that is the buyer, you don't know what frame of mind they're in that day. They could have had an offer more money than your offer, but now it's a different day, and your offer looks good to them. So you don't ever know.
I moved from Rhode Island to Philadelphia, and big city to me
Mm-hmm.
back then, even though I had gone to New York a lot for business prior to that. But now I was finally moving to a city. And I actually had the same realtor for the 15 years that I lived there. And our relationship began just a phone call because I didn't know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, okay, how much you make? She did all the calculations. She said, okay, I have 5 properties that I'm going to show you. Now, here I am. I'm 25, thinking the big city, the skyscraper, the gorgeous windows and the view. I'm doing it. I get down there. She shows the only thing I could afford in the city was a Trinity. And a Trinity is 3 rooms stacked on top of one another, closest to your neighbor, too close. So by the time she told me showed me the third one, I looked at her and I was actually choked up because I was like not believing this. And I said, okay, this is the deal. It has to be in a high rise, it has to be a view, and it has to be on the water. Either one of these. She said, if I show you that, you'll never buy anything from me. I said, come on, Jody. Let's go. We got a long ride here. You show it to me, and I guarantee you I'll buy it. So she went in, she talked to her manager. The manager said, don't do it. Don't do it. He's not going to buy. He's just going to run you around. But she said, I know, but I'm going to do it. So she takes me to Society Hill Towers in Philadelphia, which is right near the Liberty Bell, Betsy Ross.
Mhm.
It's the most historic square mile in the country. We go up 29th floor, corner unit, floor to ceiling windows, overlooking the Delaware, the Ben Franklin Bridge. And I walked into the corner where the 2 big windows meet. So you had a full panoramic view. And I turned around. I didn't even know how much it was. I turned around and I said, I'll take it. She said, you didn't even ask me how much. They're asking for I said, I don't care what they're asking. I said, I'll take it. She said, you can't afford it. I said, yes, I can. What? How much? So I said, I don't even remember. You offer this much. She said, oh, geez, I can't offer them that. They'll never take that. I said, Jody. She said, where are you going to get the money for the down payment? I said, I'll get the extra money. Don't. So obviously I wouldn't be telling the story if I didn't get the unit.
Yep.
Because I think why you're so successful with people is your honesty.
You have to be honest.
Your knowledge, which is kind of rare from a lot of the people that I've met. You impress me as being more worried about the person than the deal.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why you've had so much success as a realtor.
You want those people, your sellers, buyers, whatever, you're going to run into them in the supermarket. They become part of your life while you're helping them find a house or selling their house. You become part of them for whatever amount of time that is. You know everything about them. They're like your best friend for
Right.
that period of time. Some people stay with you forever. Like, as you know, some of my clients are my best friends
Right.
from 20 years ago. And it's just, that's what happens. You have to worry about the people. The people, it's first the people. The money and the deal is always should be second. And if you have that wrong, you're not going to be successful.
You're not.
You're
And
just not, because people can feel that if you're not being genuine. I mean, when somebody's not being genuine, and you don't want to work with them.
and that's in every single profession.
Every single thing.
I find that when you're in your truth and your passion, boom, the money just follows
That's
because
right.
you're going for it. But you really like doing it.
Mhm.
You're not working.
Well, it's funny because I had to have some chimney work done at my house, and the guy came today, and I had used him another time, and I recommend him all the time. I can say his name, right?
Oh yeah,
Of course.
Right. So it's Casey Chimney. The guy is amazing, and you know what?
Does he
He's
do
ju-
cleaning?
He does all these crazy things. Like if you have a leak, he was going to take an osprey out of a chimney when he left my house today, because the osprey keeps going back and building his nest
Nest.
in that chimney. So he has to keep moving the osprey nest.
Must be a luxury chimney.
But yeah, it must be right. But his
That's prime look. It's
personality
all
makes it.
location for the osprey. Go ahead.
Right.
Sorry.
Haha.
But it's his personality that never lets you forget him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like as soon as I needed somebody, I said, I know, call Mr. Casey. And he calls up me and he always says, it's Mr. Casey. He never says his first name. It's Mr. Casey. Where are you? Like, something. He's just, but that's why you remember him.
Right.
And he worried more about the problem I had and ready to fix it, came today and fix it. And the funny thing is, he's also a boxer. So he has a gym that he trains boxers. So these guys that go up on the chimney and up on the roofs, they're all training to be boxers. So like the guy has a story, and he's just tremendous. And he does not overcharge you. I mean, he's so reasonable. But again, he's honest. He's honest. He just made me think about it when we were talking, because that's what makes you successful. Is your personality has to be a big part of it. But you have to be born that way. 'Cause
Mar-
some of it.
Marge says, "Good evening, everyone." Steve Berry says, "Hi, Ann." And Sky Sabrina says, "Good evening and morning. I just woke up in Taiwan. Hello, everybody.
Oh, hello.
Thank you for tuning in tonight." Whoa. Whoops, technical problem. To get back to books, for those of us in the room who are literate. Now, for context on that, there's a running joke in the house that my dad hates reading. And when's the last time you read a book?
Don't be telling stories.
Wait a
out
minute,
of
I don't read that
school.
much anymore either. So
I remember reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that makes you think, oh, real estate is the thing to have. Gold and real estate. You've got to have gold and real estate, that book. But the most important thing, I think, is you start thinking about money working for you and saving and investing a lot more than working for money.
Passive income.
Right. That was the biggest takeaway for me. But from out of all the books you've read, can you remember one that stuck out to you or that taught you something particularly important?
I just think most of those positive thinking books, not one in particular really stands out for me. And I'm being perfectly honest, I haven't really read them in a while. But as a younger person starting out and, going to college and then going to try to get a job, all of those things, like I needed something, not just your education doesn't always teach you that. And I don't know. So just there's a lot of them.
Why business for you?
I said I wanted to be a fashion designer, really.
Right.
So I don't know. Because
You
you think my grandfather was in the oil business, right? But that's it. My dad had a gas station. Do you remember that? He had a gas station and down on Harris Avenue.
Oh my.
I was little. So I guess there's some of it in there. I don't know. I don't know. I actually went to school to be an accountant, but I absolutely don't like that. I
Fashion
did.
designer to accountants,
I know. Well,
definitely a
because
big
I
shift.
liked
Wow.
numbers. I liked numbers,
Right.
and that also that seemed like fun. So that's what I actually went to college for. But when I actually went to work at doing it, oh my God, it was way too boring for me. Like I'm not that kind of person that can sit at a desk.
Did you find running your restaurants one of the most consuming, taxing businesses or not?
There was some fun aspects of having the restaurant, to be honest with you. We had a great chef, so we had great food. I was able to run entertainment and comedy shows. And so that was fun.
Oh.
So I had fun doing all that. As far as the time it took, it was a lot of time because we had the auto body shop and the auto sales and the restaurant all at the same
my
time.
God.
All at the same time?
Yeah, so we were younger in those days.
Right, right.
And yeah, so it was a lot. It was a lot. But it was also fun. And everybody, the restaurant was in North Kingstown, so a lot of our friends, there wasn't a lot of things to do in North Kingstown. So it was it was very fun that there was entertainment on the weekends. So people had a place to go and they didn't have to go, say, to Providence. So yeah, we had fun doing the restaurant. Honestly, if we didn't have so many things going, I might have kept the restaurant because it was entertaining for us as well.
Oh.
It's fun.
Did you ever think you'd be in the restaurant
Oh
business?
no, that was all my husband. I also wasn't going to be in the auto body
Right.
business,
Oh,
but I was an accountant. So
right.
when we got married, I was working at Allendale Insurance doing accounting work, and I really didn't like it. So then I got a job at a car dealership in North Kingstown that's no longer there. And so then when he needed help to do his stuff, I mean, it only made sense that I would do it.
Right.
So that's how that all happened.
So what was the first thing that you and Glenn did? The auto body?
Well, the auto body, he started it before we were married.
Okay.
So he probably, I don't know if it was like 5 or 6 years before we were married, he started that. And then the auto sales came in while we had the auto body. And then the restaurant, that's kind of a long story. But we won't go into that story. But we only had the restaurant for 2 or 3 years.
Oh.
That was it. And then believe it or not, a bunch of people wanted to buy it. So it was the opportunity. Same with the auto body. We were approached one year by 3 different buyers. And
Wow.
it wasn't even for sale. So just approaching us to buy it. So it was like, something telling you, now's your time. We were in our 40s at the time when we sold it. So we were still young enough to start something else. And so that's why it was like 3 times somebody's knocking at your door. That's got to
Right.
mean something. So we did it.
It's Providence coal-fired now, right? The Great Escape.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's where it is. If anyone's been, that's our favorite pizza. Shout out to Providence coal-fired pizza. But looking back now at, were you 20 or 30 at that time?
Oh, when we had the restaurant?
Yeah.
We were probably, I'm probably close to 4. What's funny? 1990. I don't remember how old I was. It was like 1996. We had the restaurant. In 1999, we sold the body shop. In 1998, I think we sold the restaurant. Like the restaurant went first, and then the body shop.
What would you tell your younger self?
As far as
Maybe really young self. Let me rephrase.
like
that.
what you want to be when you grow up.
No. Like all the angst or nervousness along the way, if you could go back
Yeah.
and tell yourself something, knowing what you know now, having been through all that you've experienced in your life, is there anything?
I don't know. That's a hard question.
So for me,
Yeah.
when I turned 30,
Mm-hmm.
I said, the next wedding I go to is going to be mine. Fortunately, I didn't stick to that. But I had all this anxiety about turning 30, and I never had any anxiety around a birthday ever. And 30 was the only one.
Really? No, see, for me, 60.
61.
The other ones didn't bother me at all.
You said it
Turning
twice.
60 was like, oh, 60, you know? The other ones didn't bother me at all. I don't know why. It just didn't.
What birthday did you have to think about? Or are you a person with each year? Oh, people ask me how old I am.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have to stop and
Me too, because I lie. I don't want you to know how old I am.
When they ask me, I answer like it's this tough question. I hesitate because I never think of the number and my age.
Right.
Like, so even now,
At 60, you didn't think about that? A
No.
little bit?
no.
No.
And like,
I
well,
think about it every month. At the beginning of the month, I see, oh, it's April 1st. Holy jeez. I didn't do this and this. And that. But anyway, that's my issue.
I just didn't spend my 65th birthday in a way I thought I would be spending.
Yep. Me neither.
And I said to myself, oh, there's going to be a party for my 65th. I don't care how many months late it is, but I'm going to make sure. So 30 and 65 would be the two for me.
Okay.
I've got a question to pose to both of you, but I'll make it hard, so I'll ask you first, Dad. Can you think of the hardest day of your life? Now, while you think about that, I'd like to tell everyone thank you very much for staying with us throughout the show so far. If you are enjoying what you're hearing, please consider sending the link to a friend. We've still got some time left and a lot more interesting questions to cover. So with that, Dad, do you have an answer?
The day I had to ask your mother to marry me in Mandarin at the top of the tallest building in the world. I didn't even have to think about it. And I totally flubbed it up. But
You had to do it in Mandarin?
I had to do it in Mandarin.
Why?
Because, like, I was in Mandarin school and I wanted
Boy, did that pay off.
Jeez. 18 years later, I still can't speak Mandarin. That's why you went to Taiwan at 3.5 months. I was afraid he would inherit my language aptitude and he'd never speak it. So I had cheat notes. My hand was so sweaty because I was so nervous. All my cheat notes went away. So I had to go into the bathroom and I said, come on. You're over 40. You know she's going to say yes. Like, what is the issue around this? So I came back out and there are like hundreds of tourists all at the top of Taipei 101. And I get down on my knee, and now I don't know what people thought. Everybody stopped. I didn't even say anything yet. Everyone stopped because that's not their tradition. And I looked up and I started to ask her in Mandarin. So I finish, and she's looking at me and not saying anything. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? And what felt like 2 hours was probably a couple of seconds. Do you know what she did?
What? Laughed.
No.
Worse, much worse.
She corrected my Mandarin. I had to say it perfectly, and then she said yes.
And if you don't believe that, I can attest to the fact that that is something my mama would do. So this isn't made up. All right, Ann.
So now you're going to ask me the question again.
Oh,
Because I totally forgot I was thinking about the story.
I'll phrase the question better, I
Okay.
think. That'll help.
Okay.
Something that I can personally attest to struggling with is perseverance. It's very easy to start something, and then once the things get tough, it is an additional challenge, even harder than starting the thing, to stick with it.
It is for everybody.
So,
There's no answer for that because everybody always has that little voice in their head telling them something.
can
Go
you
Just the
remember?
way it is,
You don't-
like sometimes you just need to go take a walk,
Right.
or you need to go do something that just distracts you enough to just come back. It happens to everybody
Can you remember a day it happened to you?
every day. Every day there's something
that's
that
easy.
every day there's something that comes up and you like, oh, I need to take a break from this, because you're not thinking straight if you get too involved in it or too engrossed in it, too upset about it. You know what I mean? You have to just step away for a minute and rethink. And sometimes it's take a walk. Sometimes it's go get an ice cream.
Sometimes it's take a breath
Yeah.
before
it.
you answer.
Yep. Well, I tell a lot of my clients that when we have counter offers or something that a buyer or seller is saying that the opposite buyer or seller is not happy with, and they're all mad, and also say, listen, I'm not talking to you till tomorrow. You sleep on it tonight. You call me tomorrow. When you're in a better frame of mind, because attention is always there. And then they always come back the next day, and it's so much better. You just can't react right away. You have to, sometimes you just need to step back.
That happened today?
Yeah. I say almost every day. There's something that, like, I even have to start saying, well, wait a minute. Let me be realist. Let me stop, think about the right response that's going to get us the right answer.
Right.
You have to think. Every day something's going to come up.
So where inside you do you go to get past that fear, regroup, and then just go for it again? Because you've done it so many. Like, are you conscious? For me, when I'm in it, I can't verbalize to you where I went to get past the block to move forward. But if I look back, I can tell you exactly what it is that I did. But in the moment, because that's the whole thing, I was so in the moment that it didn't matter where I went. I just, by being so in that moment, I was able to get past the block or the barrier, stay calm enough to be in that moment and get past whatever it was.
That's the key to to become calm. Music is a lot of that for me.
Music.
Mm-hmm. Yep, music. In my car with the music blasting.
I did the same
I
thing.
do. That's what I do every day. Glenn gets in my car and it's like, why the radio so loud? Oh, that's because I was having a concert in my car. And I have Sirius radio, so I can constantly change the channels, and I can always find something that's going to just either relax me, let me think. Yeah.
Some Sal Valentinetti.
Yep, Sal. I got Sal. I got Harry Chapin. Like all of my go-tos that kind of just stop and let you think a minute.
So when I had to go for the MRI last week, they said, "What kind of music do you want?"
Oh.
I said, "Yeah, like Dean Martin or that."
Yeah. He didn't have that.
He was shocked that I said
yeah.
that to him. And when I was wholesaling, there were certain suits that I would wear depending upon the size of the group that I was going to talk to. Or, Julius, you won't even remember these, but they were tapes that you would put in your car.
Oh, yeah, cassette tapes.
Cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And I had 3 of them. And
I
depending
remember
upon
those. I'm old.
and then depending upon how much I had to pump myself up, that was the music that I would listen to all the way to the meeting.
That's right. And it works.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Because it took me out of all the craziness and brought me into that moment where my mind was like really still. I didn't know that back then. But now that I look back or have any of these conversations, It was the music,
Mm-hmm.
specific music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I like Frank Sinatra too. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. I have a very wide range of music, but I love music, and I think that does help you though. It
Totally.
really does, yeah. And sometimes it can only be one song, and that's like, okay, I got
Or let me ask you this. Let me ask everyone. All I have to do is hear a particular song. I can tell you what I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
who I was with, whether it was a life moment. All you have, it's like Pavlov. Boom. You hear that song and like you see the whole life around what was going on with that song.
Especially some from your youth.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's always cool to me because you remember all the friends you had at that time and what you were doing. So I don't know. Music is a great outlet in general to me.
You mean like disco dancing at
Yeah.
Shamrock
Yeah.
Cliff
Yeah.
in Newport?
That was Glenn. That was more Glenn. I was more rock and roll. Because it was like that couple of years difference
Right.
that made a huge difference music wise.
Right.
I was more like Beaver Brown.
Oh,
Yep, Beaver Brown's my buddies. But anyway, yeah. So music is a big part, I think, of
I'm gonna
bringing you
jump.
back to normality.
I'm gonna jump in with a horrible segue to what we discussed a little bit before the show about what. See, smooth, right? Nice segue. Um, if Glenn and Grayson were to watch this at some point in the future, what would you want them to know?
Glenn
Just,
and Grayson are her grandsons.
just to always work hard. Hard work always pays off, no matter how hard it is to work hard for a long period of time. It pays off. He can see that in his own parents and his grandparents, and I'm sure a lot of other people that they're going to run into in their life. But I'm very fortunate that my grandkids are extremely motivated, a lot motivated than I remember my kids being at the age that they are. But times are different,
Yes.
So it's different in so many ways from when we were kids.
Incredible.
Mhm.
It seems like they start so much younger
Mm-hmm.
than we started.
Yeah, we were still playing outside with mate until it got dark, right?
I know.
And kids don't do that. I don't know what's better. I mean, we certainly had fun growing up, and I'm sure our grandkids' kids will have a totally different time than it is now. Just like us.
We're gonna have a lot of big problems. The
Let's
more I
hope
read,
not.
the more I realize we're gonna have a lot of big problems.
Let's hope not.
Yes.
Well, maybe you'll be the one to change them.
There'll be
There
good
you go,
problems.
Julius.
No pressure, Julie.
To reapply the pressure from me to Anne again, is there a particular story you'd want them to know?
Oh, I don't know. Like about what? Like I don't even know what I would say. I mean, they know already so many stories.
Do they have a
Do
favorite?
they like the stories?
If I tell them about their dad, yeah. Like
Oh,
you know what I
right.
mean? Because like if I tell
Yes.
them the crazy things their dad did, then they
Right.
like listening to that. As far as stuff that I do, I don't know that they're that interested in that. But they
Dad-
always want to know what their parents did as kids. Like I'm sure you remember. Like you always want to know what your dad did.
Right. I would
as a
ask
kid.
grandma
Yeah.
all the time.
Yep.
I can't even. Well, Dad, I'll put it to you this way. I clearly don't have children. But if you had grandchildren, what story would you want them to hear? See, these questions
It's
are
a hard
hard,
question.
aren't they? These questions are hard.
No, I'm trying to think of the timing
Mm-hmm.
when my opinion mattered the most, where I made that switch to not caring as much as what my parents or anyone around me thought, when I really began to care about what I thought about myself and what I was doing. And that is absolutely what I would pass on to everyone, that the life I created And also the day I stopped trying to put it in a box and say, okay, it's got to be this, 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 and this. And that I can remember. We were in China building our first karaoke store. And over there, it's 100,000 square feet, a couple hundred rooms. It's a big project. And I just met Peggy's parents. I'd only known Peggy a year. And I'm in this foreign country. I don't speak the language. They had held up our license for 6 months. And we got the call. You can start. The call came at 10 o'clock at night. It was pouring rain. Peggy and her mother didn't want to get out of the car. We had been to some schmancy party, and they had on Gucci high heels, and they didn't want to ruin them because they would have gotten in the mud. So I went with my father-in-law, who doesn't speak English. We go in, and it looks like a movie set. The guys are already in there, bricking off the room, the partitions of the room. We'd gotten the call a half hour earlier.
Oh my God.
And I'm looking around. It's this huge space. And I'm thinking, I don't even know my father-in-law. I just made the largest cash investment I've ever made in anything. And I thought, wait a minute, should I be crying or should I be laughing? Because either it's going to be great or it's going to be the worst. So I said, wow, I have a choice in this moment. I could give in to my fear, or I could just say, this is going to be the best thing that ever happened to me. And I said, this is going to be the best thing that ever happened to me. And I cracked up laughing because I had to release the emotion. So it was either going to be crying or laughing. And that's what I chose.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I knew I had a choice. I didn't let my fear like overwhelm me and tell me you don't have a choice. So even when you're in your hardest decisions, I would tell my children and grandchildren, I already tell my child, you always have a choice.
Though I give you credit, I haven't heard this one before.
No, you haven't heard this story, but
My only question now is, did Yaya still try to feed everyone around him, even back then, especially bananas, or is that a
Always.
new phenomena?
Peggy's father, he not only picks what he wants you to eat, he tells you the order in which you have to eat it.
And he's always
Okay.
got bananas.
And he's
It's all
always
very good. I'm not complaining, but it's just very funny to me that my grandfather
Is
would
He
say-
still hasn't come here, right?
No, in fact, Peggy was calling today because it looks like they can come now.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
They don't speak English still.
My mother-in-law does
Oh, a little bit?
a little bit.
Okay.
My father-in-law understands.
They understand, yeah. No, it'd be good to see them.
They are an amazing story.
Maybe we'll have them on. Stay
Yeah,
tuned.
could you
for a
imagine
future
have mommy
episode.
because their life should be a TV
Really?
should be
That would be interesting.
a TV show. My father-in-law was so poor because his father died and there were 6 kids and they had to give a couple of kids away because they couldn't feed them. And to this day, all they had to eat were sweet potatoes. To this day, he still can't even look
wow.
at a sweet potato. And he and my mother-in-law just built this huge real estate
Yep.
and businesses, and really did an amazing job with their business and their kids.
Yeah.
Thanks, Yay and Nai Nai.
Getting back to business, can you remember grand opening day of The Great Escape?
No. Oh, why can't I remember it? Well, no, actually, I do remember it. We were crazy busy. We had people out the door because we had this amazing chef, and everybody found out about the amazing chef that we had.
On
And-
purpose or by accident?
Well, then there was an internet like there is today. Don't
Right.
forget, like things were different in the 90s. And so word got out. I don't know how word got out. And we had lines of people waiting to get in. So, when you're first opening up, obviously, you need to kind of work through a lot of stuff. You have new help. You have everything new. And to be perfectly honest with you, we never ran a restaurant. So
Right.
we were new too.
Did you have a soft opening, or did you just go
It's funny,
for it?
I don't remember.
Oh,
I do remember that night.
Have you blocked it out on purpose?
Probably. I really don't remember. I remember the grand opening we had when we built, because Glenn's auto body shop was in Quonset, in an old building in Quonset. And then we built the building on Frenchtown Road, which is now Blue Sun Auto Service Auto Center, was our body shop. And I remember that grand opening because it was like January like 17th or 18th, and it was like 65 degrees that day.
wow.
It was like a gorgeous, beautiful day. And so I do remember that. But sorry, I don't remember the Great Escape one.
That's one of the best looking auto body.
That's a Glenn's
Buildings.
design.
Yeah, exactly. He's incredible.
Yeah, he has a very good eye for design. Really good eye for design. Yes.
I love to talk to him about that.
Oh, you can.
That great. So in a perfect world, would you still want to be a fashion designer?
Yes.
Still,
Yeah. I still would like to do that. I said that in my retirement. I mean, it'd be very difficult to become good at it and successful, I should say, at it. But I could do my own. I could still do my own stuff. Somebody
But
said,
I
"What
think
would you
that-
do when you retire?" I said, "I would probably do that."
I know you will.
I used to make all my own clothes until I got married. Then I didn't have any more time.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I'm short and, it was hard. Everything was too long.
Right.
So, it just was easier. And I liked doing it.
How did you learn to sew and all that?
The YWCA in Providence
Oh my.
as a kid. My mother worked there.
She did?
She worked there at night. Yeah. She worked there at night. And so we got free classes. I learned how to make hats too, which I never used that. But yeah, I went to a lot of classes there, but that's where I learned how to sew.
So you love that.
Yeah. It was making something,
Right.
making something. And yeah, I did like that.
Like bringing two parties together.
Yep.
It's very good for you. That's very good for your brain to do that. Make
good.
knit, sew, all that's supposed to be very good for you.
We used to do that.
So, Julius is at Town and Country in Manhattan.
And
And
it's not called Town and Country, but that's
Oh, what is it? City and Country. Sorry.
You always call it Town.
I always
and-
call it
Because
Town and
there is
Country.
a
It's
Town
always
and
Town and
Because of
Country.
the magazine. City and Country. And Peggy comes up to me because I wanted him to play soccer. And she said, no, he's going to do knitting. I said, what are you talking about? He's going to do knitting. And she said, yes. And I said, no. He can.
Wait a minute. Guess what I ended up doing?
Soccer.
No.
Knitting. Oh, Peggy's the boss.
Because
No, but I thoroughly enjoy it, and I'm glad that I know how to do it. So
they did a study of all these neurosurgeons. And the only thing that they could find in common
Oh,
was they knitted.
that's crazy.
And I said to her, I don't know where the heck, you didn't make this up, did you? And she said, no. And I'll bet you she still has it. And it was because of that, I said, okay.
Oh, Oh, wow. That's interesting,
Isn't
huh?
that of all the things?
I'm not a neurosurgeon, though. Unfortunately, the correlation doesn't result in
Well,
the.
you're still young.
Yeah, you don't know.
You still have time.
Well, let's say that I strayed away from the neurosurgeon path and decided to become a realtor.
Oh,
What
yes.
what would you tell me if I decided to become a realtor? And Dad, this question's coming your way next, so think about it.
What do
And
you think
first,
was
though.
what do you think was the most successful motivational talk or points that you when you were managing
Mm-hmm.
that you constantly found yourself saying to your salespeople?
Real estate's not easy.
No.
So it was more or less, you have to take one day at a time. It's you're not going to be successful overnight. Because you hear all these stories, especially now all over the internet, how realtors make all this kind of money. That's only a small percentage.
Right.
The average realtor makes $40,000-$50,000 a year. That's the average realtor. So you have to work really, really hard and be really, really good and honest. And then you will become successful, but not right away. I mean, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. So a lot of people get discouraged early on because if they need to make money right away, that's just not the
Right.
path to take.
Right.
If if you have kids and you're doing real estate, you truly need to have somebody who can watch those kids because you're working when everybody else is not working.
Right.
So you need somebody to be able to watch the kids, and that's an issue for some women who are realtors. Um, and it's not a get rich quick scheme by any means. So if you want to do it, you put in your time. You do a lot of stuff maybe you don't want to do, and maybe a lot of stuff that you'll never get paid for doing. But you have to chalk that all up to experience. You don't have to go to 4 years of college either to become a realtor. So part of it, is you're going to have to get experience from something and just team up with the right company to help you succeed.
How do you evaluate people? Do you have a guiding principle for
That's a
evaluating
gut
people?
feeling. It
Exactly.
really is a gut feeling. I talk to them for half an hour and I already know if they're going to be successful or not. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. Because I can tell by if they're already making excuses of why they can't do this or that, or they already don't want to do the couple of things I may ask them to do to begin with. I mean, they're not going to make it. you know, um, you have to want it. And you have to be willing to give up a lot of stuff. Like I gave up a lot of stuff with my family that I could not do. I couldn't go to birthday parties. I couldn't go to baby showers, weddings. There was a lot of stuff I had to give up. You have to be willing to do that
Because of the weekends.
because of the weekends. Yeah. Yep. Not that you don't work during the week because you do. So you end up working 7 days. But the weekends is when most people are
Right.
able to get out and
Right.
see. This time of year, when it's light until 8, well, whatever time, like 7, 8 o'clock, it will be I'm still showing till 8 o'clock at night. But then I may have a Saturday afternoon off or a Sunday off
Right.
because then everybody's at the beach and they'd rather do that.
Right.
And then you're working later during the week. Wintertime, you're done by like 5 o'clock, pretty much showing because you shouldn't show houses in the dark.
Are you an investor also? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dad.
Nope.
But
No, you want to talk to your dad?
no. Real estate
Not
investor.
as much as I should be. Let's put it that way.
Okay. To be a real estate investor, what's a good guiding principle?
Start off with a multifamily,
Okay.
and obviously you want to get it for as reasonable as you can. You want to make sure that your profits that it pays for itself. As long as it pays for itself, then that's good. Don't expect to make a lot of money right away, but as long as everything pays for itself and you're not keep putting money out of your pocket all the time. And then, of course, the harder thing to do is obviously you want to get the best tenants you can. So the nicer your units are, obviously, the more money you're going to make for the rent, as well as the different type of clientele. That's pretty much it. And then just go from there. Take one, let that make some money, let that get some equity in it, and then you can dive into that equity to then buy the next one, and so on and so forth.
Dad, I put the same question to you now since we have one of Rhode Island's top realtors with us. You started out as a realtor, and we're talking about real estate.
You started
Me.
as a realtor?
Yes.
What would you
Oh,
tell?
geez, how did I not know
Um.
that? I finished the story. Sorry.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, what would you can tell us, and then what would you tell a realtor starting out? We've got about 5 minutes. Go ahead.
I wasn't a real realtor.
Oh, okay.
I
What did Grandma say you did for a living?
no, that was because of my investment wholesaling. When people would ask my mom, "What does your son do for a living?" Because she could never understand like the business, she'd say, "Oh, he BS's for a living." Nice, Mom. But I was involved in the development and sale of the Bonnycrest property in Newport.
Oh, okay.
The original house, I sold out the 13 units back in 1980
Oh my God.
when people, condominium ownership, especially in Rhode Island at the time, was sort of this kind of weird way to own something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and there's a haunted story thrown in there too. There was 13 acres of the most gorgeous specimen landscaping, 300-year-old beech trees,
Beautiful.
umbrella pines when no one even knew what an umbrella pine was, all these different Asian varieties that are very commonplace now, but Frederick Law Olmsted, who is the landscape architect for Central Park and a lot of other major, he was the landscape architect. Why am I telling you all this? Because I also sold the development rights of that last 13 acres. And there were all these stipulations as to what could be touched and what couldn't be touched. The day after the closing, they bulldozed everything,
All those trees?
all those trees,
It was in the contract?
even in the contract.
Oh, really? Oh my God.
So then the city got involved and they placed a moratorium on condo development. So condominium ownership even went down further as a result of that.
Oh, wow.
It was horrible.
So what's there now?
The main house and these two brick buildings. The main house is this gorgeous turn of the century Tudor, huge, 22,000 square feet
Oh my God.
house. The ballroom, I used to know, I don't really remember. They cut that in two and made spectacular 3-floor units with a panoramic view of Newport.
So there are
Harbor.
still some condos there.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
The original house and the newer units, they're still there.
But where they took all the trees down, they never could do anything with that property?
Yeah, they built
Oh, they did build them.
two with the tree.
Okay.
You could only build one
Oh.
building. And even doing that, the numbers made sense. Like you were just telling Julius, it's got to pay for itself and have upside. No, that wasn't good enough. So they bulldozed everything and built the 2 units.
Okay, now I get it.
You get it?
So wait a minute. What would you tell realtors starting out?
Number one, you better love the business. It's got to be about people. Like Ann saying, like anything else, you have to be willing to pay your dues. And there are sacrifices that go into that. The reason why I got married so late was because I traveled 5.5 days a week for 15 years. Most of the people who owned businesses like mine were on their 3rd and 4th wives. And truth be told, I was probably a little marriage-phobic to begin with. And then, I was thrown into that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew I couldn't make it work. So that's what I sacrificed
Mm-hmm.
to be able to enjoy the success that I did. So I would tell a realtor starting out, you got to love the business. You really have to enjoy people. You have to know how to handle people.
You have to be a psychiatrist,
You have to be
psychologist,
exactly
marriage counselor. A lot of different hats. A lot of different hats. It's everybody's it's an emotional. Real estate is emotional,
incredibly.
and so you have to deal with all of that. That's the bottom line, really. And anything worthwhile, there's sacrifices. I mean, you listen to anybody's story who's been successful, and it's not all roses and like everything's happy. That's just not it. It's just part of being successful. Is you have to have the good and the bad.
And you have to have that degree of luck.
There is a little bit of that.
You have to work really, really hard, but in all fairness, it seems like when you get that one break, it propels you into a whole other league.
And mental too.
Mental.
And it's mentally as well. Like we're talking about, like, you get down if something doesn't go the way you anticipated, and you're upset, you're sad, whatever. You have to give yourself that time to be mad. If
Right.
you need to be mad, but only be mad for one day. Don't be mad for a week because something didn't go your way. You didn't get a listing, or your client didn't get the offer. You can be mad. It's okay. But just for one day.
And let it go.
And
I
then
hear
let
that.
it go. You have to be mad because you just have to be.
Right,
'cause
you
you're
can't-
mad.
It's not good to deny.
Right. So you just be mad, but just for the day.
So I guess as
okay.
long as you keep going.
That's all. That's it.
Exactly.
Just for the one day, and then keep going.
If you're in the real estate market and would like to work with Ann, she can be reached over the phone at 401-413-6075. Or you can find links to more contact information and her Facebook page in the description below. On that note, Ann, I'm going to say thank you very much for coming on our show
And
tonight.
thank you.
This was fun.
This is really
It was
fun.
fun.
Maybe you'll come back.
Maybe.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Have a great night, everyone. See you next Tuesday. Oh, where's the button? There it is.
I wanna see